What if the most important unit on the Kansas City Chiefs next season isn't Patrick Mahomes? What if it's a group of players most fans can't even name yet? Here's what's quietly happening in Kansas City and why it could change everything. The Kansas City Chiefs have won the Super Bowl again and again. At this point, dynasty isn't even a strong enough word. But here's the thing about dynasties. They don't stay on top by doing the same thing forever. They evolve, they take risks, they make moves that look strange from the outside until suddenly they don't. And right now, the Chiefs are making one of the strangest moves we've seen in years. They are building what looks like an almost entirely rookie-based special teams unit. Let that sink in for a second. Now, before you scroll away thinking, special teams, who cares? Stop. Because special teams isn't just kicking and punting. Special teams is field position. Special teams is momentum. Special teams is the unit that once upon a time gave a backup returner a chance to flip a game completely on its head with one 90-yard burst down the sideline. Special teams loses championships. Special teams wins them too. So when the Kansas City Chiefs start pointing their draft capital and roster decisions towards youth and rookies in that unit specifically, that's not an accident. That's a philosophy. Here's the background you need. Over the last 2 seasons, the Chiefs have quietly watched their special teams rankings slide. They weren't terrible, but in a league where every yard matters and in a franchise where the margin between winning and losing a championship is sometimes a single field goal, average isn't good enough. Meanwhile, veteran special teams players are expensive. They take up cap space. And cap space for a team paying Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce's replacement costs, Chris Jones, and a defensive rebuild, cap space is sacred. So the Chiefs front office asked a question that most teams are afraid to ask. What if we developed our own guys? What if instead of paying for proven veterans on special teams, we drafted fast, hungry, athletic rookies and coached them up ourselves? It sounds risky. It is risky. But Kansas City has one thing most franchises don't: Andy Reid and one of the most respected coaching staffs in football history. Think about what that means for a rookie. You're 22 years old. You were a late-round pick or an undrafted free agent. Nobody gave you a shot, and suddenly you're not just on an NFL roster. You're on the Kansas City Chiefs, the team that just won back-to-back Super Bowls. You are playing for a championship-caliber program from day one. That kind of environment doesn't just develop players, it accelerates them. And here's where it gets really interesting. The Chiefs aren't just doing this out of desperation. There are signs they've been planning this. Their recent draft classes have featured several players with elite athleticism and special teams versatility baked right into their scouting profiles. These aren't guys drafted to sit. They're drafted to run downfield, cover kicks, and create chaos. One scout described it simply: the Chiefs are treating special teams the way college programs treat walk-ons with something to prove: hungry, fearless, with nothing to lose and everything to gain. Now here's the part nobody's talking about yet. If this works, and there's real reason to believe it could, Kansas City will have created a pipeline, a system where they cycle in fresh, cheap, explosive special teams talent every single year. While other teams overpay aging veterans, the Chiefs stay fast, stay young, and stay dangerous in a phase of the game that quietly decides at least 3 or 4 games every single season. That's not just a roster move, that's a structural advantage. And the rest of the NFL? They're watching, quietly taking notes, because that's what happens when Kansas City does something unusual. First it looks strange, then it looks smart, then everyone copies it. 2 years too late. The Chiefs aren't rebuilding, they're reloading, and they're doing it in a place nobody thought to look: special teams, rookies, revolution. Don't say you didn't see it coming.